Hi folks, Captain Jay today with you. We're going to be talking about setting up oysters in your classroom today. You get a chance to really see and learn a little bit about some of the oysters. You can watch them grow and learn a little bit about the oyster community that's going on out in our bays. These are some of the materials we're going to need to set these aquarium up here. Some of the items you will be receiving inside your little bucket of oysters, and some of the things you'll have to pick up. Throughout this video, again, I'm going to say quite a bit about contacting me. We'll be glad to help you with this if we possibly can. One of the first items is, of course, the tanks. Either a 10 or a 20-gallon tank. This is one that we've had set up for a while. The larger the tank, within reason there, it's a little easier to maintain your water that way. So we kind of recommend either a 20-gallon, possibly even a 10-gallon if you don't have enough space. But a 20-gallon works pretty well. You'll, of course, need a light hood to go on there, appropriately sized. One thing with the light hood, we also like to add in one of the appropriate lights that go with it. This is actually a 50-50 reef sunlight that actually provides more natural-like sunlight to it. It'll allow some of the photoplankton and other critters to live on your oysters. The base of the aquarium here is made up with this gravel. Make sure you get some sort of aquarium grade or saltwater grade aquarium gravel to go in there. We'll talk more about that here when we set this up. A refractometer is very good to have. This will allow you to know how much salt you have in your water. Of course, the fresh water will evaporate away, the salt will stay behind, so you will have to add fresh water occasionally to your aquarium to maintain that. A timer for your lighting. Of course, a pump. Pumps, we don't have to go with anything real exotic because the oysters are actually the filters for this project. They actually take care of most of the filtration. We're using this mostly for water circulation. Some sort of device, there's a bunch of different ones out there, some sort of device that you can move some stuff around in the aquarium occasionally so you don't have to stick your hand in there all the time. Of course, a water pitcher, small bucket, any kind of materials like that are always good. And lastly, oyster food. This is some stuff that we've grown up around here. I do have a source and I can fix you up with some oyster food when you get this project going. When you start off your marine aquarium here, one of the first things you want to use is an appropriate marine aquarium gravel. This stuff is really important. It helps to maintain the pH and it really helps keep your water nice and clear. Really important that you rinse this stuff really good before you put it in. After placing your gravel in, the next big step is, of course, our salt water. Now, some of you, if you have access to bay water, you're welcome to go out and collect it in 5-gallon buckets, bring it into your classroom. Great way to kind of bring in new stuff in. A lot of y'all, it might be easier to actually just mix up your own. I showed you the marine grade salt earlier. They have directions on the side. Mix them up, usually about 5 gallons at a time. Stir it up real good. Most importantly, follow your refractometer here. I'm going to show you with these real quick, and you got to be a little careful with them because they're real bad about getting air bubbles in them there, and they'll give you a higher reading. But we try to get that salinity right at about that 25 to 30 mark. These guys don't like that 35, which is what you get out in the Gulf out there in our seawater. These guys like it a little bit fresher, so that 25 to 30 range is about perfect for oysters. Most importantly, follow what your refractometer says because that's going to really determine how much salt or how much fresh water you add. It's always a good idea to be on the fresher side as opposed to the saltier side. We've got the substrate, we've got the water that is at the right salinity. Our next phase is to put on our pump. Follow the directions on putting your pump together here. Some of them have different pieces that go in there, but ultimately I like to get them set up and running, plug them in, get them flowing water. And most of them come with a carbon filter or some sort of a pad with them. Tell you what, folks, take that out, put that aside because the oysters are going to be doing our filtration. All right, let's get these guys in the tank. I kind of like to orient them so that the kind of more interesting side is up a lot of times. Got a bunch of barnacles on there. You never know what all's in there. We'll find crabs and shrimp and all kinds of things associated with them. Got a lot of little mussels attached in different spots there as well. They're kind of fun to watch. And you can orient them again any way you want, whatever kind of works in your aquarium there. There we go. They look happy. All right, our next step is to put our hood and light on. Make sure you don't drop this into the aquarium. All right. Now, when we get the hood and light here, they usually come with kind of a cheaper light in them. And since we're using this as kind of a marine aquarium, we like to exchange that light out with one of these Reef Sun 50/50 lights here. That'll help us to get the right light spectrum for all the critters that are living in there. Now that we have our light on the tank, it's important we make sure that we don't leave the light on all the time. It'll grow too much algae. So you may want to hook you up a little timer to it, or if you're in your classroom, turn it on when you come into the classroom, turn it off when you leave. Timer makes it pretty easy. Usually set it for about anywhere from 6 to 8 hours so that it's on. Lastly is the care and maintenance of our oysters. This is our oyster food. This is some stuff we've actually grown up here at the university. Be glad to give you some stuff here when we get into it. A mixture of phytoplankton, zooplankton, all the stuff that these oysters like to feed on. It's important to remember that these oysters are filtering about 50 gallons a day, so they will actually just filter this stuff right out of the water. We're not going to feed our fresh new tank that we set up. We're going to let these guys kind of get accustomed for a day or so. And these guys here have been in here for quite a while, so they're ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour in. What I want to do, I kind of like to add about a teaspoon, maybe 2 teaspoons, kind of let it, as the water kind of murks up a little bit, let it kind of circulate around in there. Give it about a half hour. If it hasn't cleared up in a half hour, you're probably feeding too much. But just let it keep going. The oysters will take it in. All right, guys. Hope you've enjoyed setting up your oysters in the classroom aquarium. And really kind of a fun little thing to do. It's a neat thing to watch with your students. You can measure these oysters as they grow over time. You can see some of the different members of the community, the mussels, the sponges, the different shrimp, possibly crabs, all these things. It's amazing to me. After a month, something new will come blooming in there. Keep track of your lighting, keep track of your feeding there, and a lot of fun. I find them also very relaxing after a stressful day in the classroom. Thanks, guys.